A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things UEFA Champions League as I have a look at the second leg quarterfinal fixtures. So, coming up then into this episode, we're going to have a look at each and every single fixture and how the first legs played out and how the second leg could potentially play out, and then give a prediction with regards to the teams that will advance to the semi-finals. So, when you have a look at it then, the first encounter then is Bayern Munich versus Villarreal. So, in the first leg then, Villarreal did win that encounter 1-0 at home, where then I think Villarreal were very good on the night and they created so many chances, and if anything, I think Villarreal could have won that game at least 3-0, if not 4, because they created so many chances and they even hit the woodwork. They also had a goal disallowed. And when you have a look at Villarreal then, with regards to the key players, have a look at then Giovanni Lo Celso, who was very important as their playmaker and how creative he is. And within the heart of midfield then, you had Danny Parejo and you had Etienne Capoue. And when you look at these three players, they've been very, very key for this Villarreal side with regards to Champions League football. And it's going to be very important that they have a great performance then at the Allianz Arena if Villarreal are to stand any chance with regards to advancing to the semi-finals. And what's going to be key then for Villarreal is ensuring then that they're able then to defend deep for long spells, because they will be under attack from this Bayern Munich side. And what then becomes important then is their low to mid blocks with regards then to how they're looking to manage the space laterally and vertically, and being able then to be tactically and defensively organized. And whenever then they do have those opportunities then to transition offensively and hit this Bayern Munich side on the counter attack, they should be clinical, because I don't foresee them getting a lot of chances, but the couple of chances that they do get, they should be very, very clinical. And when you look at Bayern Munich then, this is a side that have struggled defensively, as I've just felt that when you have a look then at their structure from a defensive perspective, I just felt that they've lacked discipline from that regard, and tactically they haven't been sound from a defensive perspective. At times there's no pressure on the ball and it's a bit too easy to play through them and also then to get those crosses in. But what's going to be very key then in this encounter is how Bayern Munich look to impose themselves from an offensive perspective. Also then when they're looking then to ensure that they're able to get those goals to get them to the semi-final. And I do foresee then when you look at Gnabry, you look at Lewandowski, and you look at Müller. I think these three players will be key then with regards to how then they'll be looking to impose themselves and get those goals for this Bayern Munich side. I don't foresee then Bayern Munich struggling in that regard, as I do foresee them scoring a couple of goals for them to advance to the semi-final. So in that encounter then, I do foresee then Bayern Munich winning that encounter. Moving on then right along. So when you have a look at the next fixture, we do have Real Madrid versus Chelsea. So when you have a look at Real Madrid versus Chelsea, on aggregate, the score is 3-1. So the first leg in London, you did see a Karim Benzema hat-trick. And when you have a look at Real Madrid, they controlled the game very well, especially then within the heart of midfield. And Karim Benzema then was very clinical on the night, and he was able then to take his chances. When you have a look at Chelsea, I think then that they really struggled to grow into the game and gain that momentum as well. And they also missed a couple of chances on the night. It's going to be very interesting then that when they do then go to the Santiago Bernabeu, how do Chelsea look to respond? If it's anything like a performance they put out against Southampton, then they stand a very good chance to advance to the semi-finals. But when you look at Real Madrid, you look at the experience they have within the heart of midfield, you look at the experience they have within the technical team, I think that 3-1 victory was just enough to see them over. But it's going to be very interesting then, and depending on how Chelsea start, that will be key. However, I do foresee then Real Madrid seeing this one out and them being able then to advance to the semi-final. And then when you move on then right along, let's have a look at Atletico Madrid versus Manchester City. So when you have a look at Atletico Madrid in the first leg against Manchester City, they adopted a very, very defensive approach. And when you have a look at it, they did start with a 5-3-2 shape. And what was very interesting then about Atletico Madrid was how dynamic and versatile they were with regards to transitioning into different defensive shapes at different phases. So they did start out like that, but when they saw that Manchester City were finding joy with regards then to the wide areas, what Atletico Madrid then did was they dropped Griezmann and they dropped João Felix into the sides. So this is the approach then that Atletico Madrid went with in the middle of the first half, as now they were just looking then to deny Manchester City that space in wide areas, and within those half spaces, Manchester City really struggled then to advance the ball, especially then when you look at the type of setup and how then it was forcing Manchester City's creative players. Then whenever they look to receive in between the lines, there's only one place that Manchester City could go, and that was going backwards, because then they just couldn't turn in those tight pockets of space. So then when you also look at the second half, that is where Manchester City were able then to find that penetration, where then Phil Foden comes on, and within the half space, he does offer that positional superiority with regards to how then he looks to position himself. So he does get that ball in there. And when he gets that ball in there, he takes it on his back foot. He does slip it in for De Bruyne. De Bruyne makes the run in behind, and then he looks to finish. And throughout that game, within the first leg, I really enjoyed the tactical battle, especially considering then that you had two opposing managers with regards to game models and philosophies as well. So you've got one coach who's great in possession of the ball, who is Pep Guardiola, and another coach then who is great out of possession, and that is Diego Simeone. So when you have a look at that encounter, it was a narrow win for Manchester City. So going back then to Madrid, it's going to be very interesting then to see how that one plays out. But I do foresee City being in control for large parts of the game with regards to ball possession. But Atletico Madrid really have to come out the blocks. They really have to come out and play a bit, So the personnel from an Atletico Madrid perspective could change slightly. And we might see Correa starting. We might see Rodrigo de Paul starting as well. However, I do foresee Manchester City then being able to get over the line and win this encounter, where then they will advance to the semi-final. So that was Atletico Madrid with a very defensive approach. However, in the second leg, it becomes paramount that they do come out and play, and they do try and get back into the tie and try then advance to the semi-final, And I think with them coming out to play, I think that'll be their undoing, especially considering then that this Manchester City side is very, very lethal, especially then when you give them the space to play. And then when you have a look at it then, the fourth and final quarterfinal fixture, you do have Liverpool versus Benfica, which ended 3-1 in Portugal in favor of Liverpool. I think Liverpool were just very dominant on the night, as Benfica struggled to even get out their own half. So I do foresee then Liverpool being home and dry in this fixture, and I do think at Anfield they will score another couple of goals to ensure then that they do advance to the semi-final. So how then I see the semi-final fixtures is Liverpool versus Bayern Munich and Real Madrid versus Manchester City. However, at home, do let me know, what do you make of these quarterfinal fixtures, and what do you foresee within the semi-final fixtures? Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Liolo signing out.